Uh, Howdy, everybody. My name is Jewel Addy, and I am the daughter of Elma Witherspoon and Judson Wendell Addy. On my mother's side, my grandmother is Henrietta Holder Witherspoon. She married a Witherspoon, and her grandfather was a descendant or came over on the ship from Barbados. My grandmother, Henrietta, and my relationship was a beautiful one, I think. As a kid, she was my main caretaker, almost as if she was my first mom. You know, when we came to the States, or when my family came to the States before I was born, my mom was working two jobs. She was the main breadwinner for the family and taking care of everybody. So if I was home with my grandma, and she was taking care of me and cooking for me and all the things. My mom says that I got the best years of my grandmother. As I got older, by the time I was at an age to really form memories, she developed Alzheimer's. And so it changed kind of the way our relationship, could have been. I had to kind of step into a bit of a caretaker role as the main kid who was home after school and didn't have after school activities quite yet. But she was always there. She taught me how to make my first pot of corned beef stew. That was like my favorite. That was one of my favorite dishes when I was a kid. And I remember this one time my uncle Jervis had come to visit, and he hadn't seen his mom in a long time. So he gets to the apartment that we're staying in, and she's sitting on the couch, and he lays his head in her lap and is occupying what I saw as my seat. So I had to come over and kind of remind him whose spot this was. I was trying to shove him away. She was always there for me and my friends. I had developed a friend or made a friend in our building when I was young. So a lot of my toddler photos have me and this one other baby in it, because my grandmother had offered to, provide daycare to both of us since our parents were working. This friend was Moroccan, and we just hit it off from a young age. So she's at my first birthday party. I'm at her first birthday party. You can always see Gran in the background and nearby. Growing up, I don't remember my parents exclusively talking about home. I think if I did hear about it, it was kind of third hand. So if there was other adults in the room, and they were kind of just recapping, the latest news on the ground during the war. But they weren't really talking to us directly about it, or at least not to me. I was pretty young at the time. But I knew that we were Liberian people. I knew that we were of Liberian culture. I remember my grandmother's V-ring growing up, and that's kind of why I had to get a V-ring. We were going to Liberian functions and cookouts. We went to a Liberian church. We ate Liberian food. So I knew who I was in that sense, but didn't have a point of reference for where I was from. One of the favorite Liberian sayings I would hear growing up is, "You better mind." It probably meant that you weren't behaving yourself. And so, you must mind your business and mind how you're moving and maneuvering if you didn't want to get beat later on. My mom, yesterday was her birthday. My mom is probably one of the kindest and sweetest, but still very fierce people that you'll ever meet. She's a Scorpio, so she walks with a lot of confidence and whatnot. But she's also a person of few words. Like, she doesn't feel the need to overexert herself in situations where someone might try to be overexerting her. She has opened her home to her family all her life. She's a dependable person. She's consistent. She always came home when we were growing up, and really managed her time, because between her two jobs, starting off early when she got to the country, and then later her full-time underwriter job with Care First, all of her time was really tight. So if she wasn't working, she was preparing food to last us the whole week while she was out working. She was shopping on Saturday and cooking on Sunday and packing everything in Tupperware for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday soups. So she's super hardworking, super loving, and I'm really grateful that I got to be her daughter. Currently, she works in health insurance with the UN. She basically, the way I understand her job is that she and her team will basically go and organize the contracts and go back and forth with the insurance companies to say what they should cover and what the plan will look like for the year for all of the UN staff. Her team is also responsible for handling appeals. So if someone has a surgery or some kind of medical care that they need that the insurance won't cover, her team will help them advocate for why the insurance company should cover it, and then help that client navigate that. Funniest things I could tell you about my mom is that she's a naturally funny person. One of my favorite videos I was watching of her yesterday is I was home for Thanksgiving, and this is 3 months into me starting my first job and moving from my college campus to my first home in DC. And all my life, and probably still now, I really am not that great of a dancer. I don't have the most rhythm, but I can fake like I have some rhythm. So I had spent a lot of time dancing in DC before I got home to New Jersey. And so when I got home and we were playing music and she's cooking in the kitchen and I'm hanging out with her there, she just is like, wow, Jewel's got rhythm now. I never thought I'd see the day. So, yeah, she's naturally funny. She says what's on her mind, doesn't hold back. Yeah, she's a funny person. I know that she's always wanted to retire at home, and I think she's got interest in getting into helping with literacy and access to books and just increasing the people's access to education through reading in Crozierville as what she wants to do when she returns home. But outside of that, I'm not sure what her plans are for when she goes home. I know that with us, she took us to visit Liberia almost every other year since 2006 up until we turned 24, 25 or so. As part of kind of one of the benefits of her job, she would have to go do work while she's home, but they do this thing called home leave at the United Nations where they will pay for your family and yourself and your spouse to go home for a period of time, or help kind of subsidize the cost of going home. So from her taking us home all of those years, I now feel the need to go home to Liberia every year that I can, usually in December now. And, ideally I'd like to move home to Liberia one day as well. Yeah, so my first time going, we went in 2006. So it was right after the war had ended. First impressions, it was really nice to be around 100% Liberian accents and Liberian people. I had never gotten to experience that outside of my home or outside of Liberian functions. So to be in a space where everyone sounded the same and not looked the same, but had the same, kind of pride and energy with the country was really beautiful. Because it was right after the war, we had a lot of potholes. So every ride was very bumpy as the drivers navigated the streets. It was really amazing to see the red soil of Africa that I had mostly seen in movies. And it was nice to see our family and to be connected to the food that, our parents are making over here, but it tastes a little bit different because it's not the same amount of freshness that you're getting from picking it straight from the land when you're home. But I really liked it. We spent a lot of time going and seeing people who we had never met and who our parents hadn't seen in years and years. And I think everyone knows how that goes. Oh, please come meet so-and-so. This is my daughter. So we did a lot of that. I love Liberian food. It's my favorite food in the entire world. I remember when I first went to college, I went to University of Maryland. I'd been eating at the dining hall for a couple months and was just missing something on my taste buds, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And then I knew it was Liberian food. So mommy went and made me a pot of cassava leaf, and she froze it and she mailed it. And she let me know that was the last time that she was going to mail me cassava leaf because it was too expensive to mail. And that's when I knew I needed to start learning how to make our soups and our foods. And so when I got back home, I learned how to make cassava leaf. And, fast forward to today, nearly 10 years later, I can make cassava leaf, I can make tabagi, I make fufu and soup. I beaded some dumball recently. I can make okra soup. I mean, every Liberian dish starts with a good pot of pepper soup. So I can make a lot of them. My favorite Liberian dish, hands down, is cassava leaf. Today, I currently work in communications, in healthcare communications. I'm a communications director at a nonprofit health center here in DC. We specialize in HIV care and LGBTQ care. but we're an open health center and healthcare home for anyone who walks through our doors. We really specialize in removing barriers to care. So for us, that means, healthcare is more than going to the doctor and getting your blood pressure checked. It's, do you have access to quality, healthy food? Do you have insurance coverage? Can we help you sign up for insurance coverage through the Affordable Care Act? Do you have legal issues or legal needs, especially when it comes to appealing for people to cover your healthcare costs and what you need to be a healthier you? So I work in that space in healthcare communications. My work in charitable organizations include, for 5 years, my friend and I ran a nonprofit called Red Dot Campaign. This was from 2015 to 2020. So around 2015, we started to see stories and hear stories of what homeless people experience if they are having periods and don't have access to menstrual health products like pads, tampons, menstrual cups, what have you. And so as people who also have periods and who bleed, we were like, this is insane that we never thought about donating these products when we're donating canned food and toothpaste and toiletries. So we wanted to do something about it. So we started to have events and charge people's entry fee as being a donation of like a package of pads or tampons, and also use that space to educate them about periods and just to kind of break the taboo around them, because as menstruators, we weren't really allowed to talk about our periods growing up, even though they're such a big part of who we are. So during those 5 years, we collected about 35,000 products and donated them to places mostly in DC and New York, where we were based, where our organization team was based. We also sent things out to Baltimore, Maryland, after Freddie Gray was murdered in police custody. We donated things to Houston after the hurricane that went through there. I think it was Hurricane Harvey. We also donated to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. But in that work, we utilized comedy, storytelling, and art to help kind of reframe the conversation around periods. So the events that people would attend were comedy shows. I think it's been a learning experience for a lot of us, but really glad that we were in this age and phase where people are more accepting to Africans in the US at least, and are just kind of really embracing African culture, African food, African music, African everything, and hope they'll also spend time really learning about the people of the culture. So I'm really inspired by my mom. I think that I've never met or experienced a more hardworking woman. I've never met or experienced a more loving person. She has always worked really hard to make sure that me and my sisters had all that we could have, from education to incentives to finishing school, some folks need incentive, but incentives to finishing school to being able to see the world. Every time that we went to Liberia, because there's no direct flight to Liberia, we would stop somewhere and try to get out and do something in that country. So if it was, the Brussels stop, or we'd stop in Switzerland, or one time we did Italy, but she made sure to show us the world. So I'm grateful for my mom. She's ignited the traveler within me, the lover of Liberian food within me, the lover of pepper within me. People are always surprised by how much pepper I can eat, just as they're surprised by how much Liberian food I can cook. But yes, it's my mom. I hope that more of my peers, if they haven't gone to visit home yet for any reason, that there is an opportunity for them to go and visit. And I hope that they will, like me, be inspired to want to move back and see what we can do to kind of rebuild our country to the place that it once was. I know that we won't get to see and reap the benefits of it in our lifetime, but it'll be really important for us who are, around my age, to plant those seeds now so that our future generations can appreciate the beauty of Liberia.